Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast. I'm your director, Christian Buckley. As always, joining me is the Apex legend, Jack Martin.
Excelsior, Christian. How you doing?
I'm doing good. This is the episode for September 17th. I forgot to say that. I normally do. But
There you go. We're really knee-deep in September.
I know, dude. I had goals
I thought it
for
was
this
June
year.
the other day.
They slipped. You thought it was June, you said?
Dude, I thought it was June. Like, I woke up, like, maybe on Monday of this week, thinking, summertime. And we are not. We're very far away from June.
Yeah, we have math. That's 6 more days until, as of recording, it's officially fall. Wild.
Yeah, it really is. But how have you been doing? What have you been up to?
Good. You know, I'm trying to remember. It's been a hazy week with gaming stuff. It's kind of been like a mini E3 in the later part of this year. Also, on the content side, been taking care of a lot of things, shifting around some shows. We talked about it before. If you like this Marvel's Avengers game, odds are you started liking superhero games with the Batman series. So the first episode of the Batman Arkham Asylum Long Play Club is up, featuring both of us and Omar Nakvi. That's on the channel now. If you're intrigued by revisiting Batman Arkham Asylum, check it out.
It's a very fun time.
It is a very fun time. And episode 2 will be posting a couple days after this episode of Excelsior. So that's been my week. How are you? How have you been doing?
I've been doing well. I just started a God of War replay last night.
Nice.
I was worried, but man, great game. And we both finished Immortality, like, over the past week. And I think that's the most we've texted about a video game ever.
Yeah. Like, even if you combine every single time we have exchanged about the game we've been running a podcast for 2 years, I think there were more texts about Immortality in the span of 48 hours.
Yeah. So, anyone listening, highly recommend it. I'm not even going to mention anything about that game. Although I would... Right now, it's my game of the year. That could very easily change with Ragnarok coming up and maybe, like, some other games. But, yeah. I very, very much recommend it. I really want Kevin and Omar to play it because I want to hear more people's perspective. But, yeah, it's quite wild.
And if you're thrown off by the type of game it is, give it a shot, especially if you have Game Pass. Because I think the last time I played a game like that was in my, like, computers class in middle school, Jack. But
Kid Picks?
Maybe. I don't remember, actually. Like, starting off with just, like, a weird tone, right? We played a game about, like, children getting, like, taken by, like,
that's
strangers.
A fun school game.
I know. It was like practicing internet safety or something, and it was like an FMV game where you had to, like, track down this girl who got, like, kidnapped by this man.
What?
Yeah,
What
I don't
year
know,
was
man.
this? Like early 2000s?
Maybe late 2000s, honestly.
Oh, okay.
It was middle school, so I was probably, like, between 11 to 13, I'd guess.
Huh. That's interesting.
So, do you remember the ABC Family film Cyberbully?
No, I don't.
Okay, because it was in that same class. We watched that movie and we played that game.
Man, the U.S. education system's just trying to, like, scare children these days, apparently.
And look at me now. You know? But there's some stuff going on in the Marvel Universe this week. Since the last recording, D23 really kicked off. Last episode, we really only got to talk about the Marvel/Disney Games showcase, which didn't have a ton of juicy information. Quick update, since there's really not much else to talk about. The Amy Hennig Skydance New Media Marvel Black Panther Captain America game. You texted me a interview this morning. Strictly single player, no co-op.
Yes. Yeah. Amy Hennig herself confirmed it with Ryan McCaffrey of IGN. I think it was, like, around or slightly after the D23 showcase. Hey, gotta applaud us, by the way. We're saying it correctly this time. Not saying
Yeah.
Disney 23.
Yeah, you just said it now. I'm gonna say it again in 20 minutes. Give me
Yeah,
time.
I really got to think about it. But yeah, that's honestly, I know that honestly really improved my thinking about this game because
Hmm.
it's just gonna straight up be Amy Hennig doing her thing. No like forced co-op or anything like that. It's just you playing as these characters over a certain amount of time, which I think is probably the best way they can handle this, and that has me very, very much more excited than I was if this was going to be like a Gotham Knights situation. So that's sweet.
I agree. That's really all there was outside of that. So we will get to the MCU, Marvel movies, Marvel TV show news in just a bit. But first, Fury's report. What's going on in Marvel's Avengers this week? More importantly, next week. We'll get to that in a second. But for Fury's report, Triple XP is in play for Hawkeye at the moment. That is Clint Barton Hawkeye, not Kate Bishop Hawkeye. Get in there up until September 22nd. In addition to that, up to the same date, there's a big Hawkeye sale in the marketplace. Half off all non-MCU Hawkeye outfits. Half off takedowns, emotes, and nameplates for Hawkeye as well. Red Room Takeover is the current event. It is running from today as a recording, September 15th to September 29th. Again, Red Room Takeover, I'll always shout it out. If you want to grind hero challenge cards that you have not completed, best way to do it, Red Room Takeover, I think it's room 2, the first encounter, do the first like 3 before they spawn the Exo-Mechs, and then just reset. It's a very easy grind, and it got me through so many challenge cards.
I got Mighty Thor right now.
Nice.
Haven't done that. So will I be doing this? No. However, it is a nice thought that I could be doing this. There's too many games to play, Christian. But
There are.
I,
And
I agree with you. I'd recommend doing this.
I was going to say it's funny because there are too many games always, and we're both playing 2018 hits right now. I'm 40 hours into a Red Dead 2 replay, and you're on God of War.
Did you finish that? I thought you had finished that recently.
What, Red Dead 2?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm taking my time on
Good,
this.
good.
So
Where are you? Whereabouts are you?
I just got to, what was it, Coulter Point or something like that. It's the chapter 3, the beginning, the like swampy Hatfields and McCoy chapter, or not swampy.
You're like overlooking Valentine, right?
No, I'm near Rhodes, Lemoyne Raiders.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You're like by the river. I see. This is kind of like where Sadie Adler comes into play a little bit more.
Yes.
You're going into town, getting things. Gotcha. This is like near the big plantation scene.
Yeah.
All right, nice. Oh God, what a game, man!
I know, it's so goddamn good. It's so good.
That has like sat with me more. That I think God of War 2018 was originally my game of the year that year, but I feel like Red Dead 2 has eclipsed that. If I had to go back and do it again, it'd be Red Dead 2.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 was for sure mine, and then when I was like working with Kevin on PlayStation Source stuff, I very, very quickly was like, hey, I get it. Like we
Oh,
could just
yeah.
give it to God of War. I get it's a PlayStation focused thing. There's a lot of detractors for some people about Red Dead. It's a much more controversial pick. But both great games. Both very, very
Oh.
good video games.
They're fantastic. They're what a year for games. Wasn't Spider-Man that year?
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable. Oh man.
And in 2022, solid year, right?
Yeah.
Decently solid year.
Mostly solid. Yeah.
And Avengers is going to continue to keep up being somewhat solid because next week, Update 2.6 is live. This is straight from the blog. New Elite Villain Sector, No Rest for the Wicked launches next week in Update 2.6. They give a little bit more detail. SHIELD has detected a great power source coming from an AIM lab in the Utah Badlands, and it looks like Monica is running the operation herself. Assemble your strike team and take her on in our new Elite Villain Sector, which rolls out on September 20th in Update 2.6. get some key art, a lot of Monica's, really, really big exosuit, Buzz Lightyear vibes from that
Yep.
top right one.
Oh yeah, just about to say it. Good call.
So not the MODOK fight. The MODOK fight,
Yeah.
I imagine, is going to be saved for a larger, maybe Omega level threat. But I like the villain sectors. I think they're fun. I just think when the game launched, we're only like, Abomination and Taskmaster. So
Yeah. No, I agree. This is good. I like Monica's fight in the Cosmic something or another event, but this one, yeah, I'm gonna try and play this on the 20th because it's been a while since I've actually gone in and played the game because there's not really been a lot of new content, and here we go with this. So definitely gonna jump in for this.
what day is the 20th?
Great question. I'm pulling up a calendar. That's 5 days from now, which would be a Tuesday.
I don't think I'm doing anything that day. So if you'd like to run it together, I'm down.
We could do it.
Okay. And then we can have impressions that week.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Cool. Isn't that fun? Fun scheduling some things around this game to actually talk about with this game.
Yes, it's been quite some time.
Yeah. But any thoughts, hot takes on what we've learned about this? The fact that it's so soon? Anything like that?
No, this is cool. It's nice to get updates when they're like, hey, this will come out. I think they said something about this maybe a week or two ago, and then they just kind of announce it very soon before it releases, which is cool. Like, they're like, hey, we're planning on this, not necessarily sure when it's coming out, and then when they're assured on the release date, they describe it a week in advance. So that's nice.
Yeah, and I understand, like, it's been a long, long time since the game launched, and the main conversation when the game launched was, please just say anything. Honestly, I think because of the pulse of the community at this point in time, and because you have the people who are really committed to either still playing it constantly, or the people like you and I who are like, we want to really be in the game, but we need a reason to be in the game, and given a reason, we will hop back in. I think truthfully, it might be a good plan to maybe not talk about content too much until it's ready to launch, especially if you can get relatively quick turnarounds on updates. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, update 2.5 was like 2 months ago, maybe, when Jane dropped.
Trying to think if that was 2.4 or 2.5, and I don't recall.
Let me do a quick search.
But I'm actually not sure.
Do you have a preference on like the long-term communication stuff, or do you think having like, hey, surprise, this is ready, it's out in like a week, is a good thing if they can like keep hitting semi-regular dates rather than like, we're doing this, we're talking about it in June, it's going to be out in December, and then it's like, actually, we can't keep talking about it because we have to delay it, and then we delay it.
Jane was 2.5. I think I agree with you. At this point, when content is pretty bare, like, they're not really doing too much communicating anyways, like in terms of long-term planning. So I think just figuring things out, like getting definitive release dates and then coming out with an announcement like pretty close to it, I think is good, and it kind of tempers expectations. And
I agree.
at this point, it's like a little nice surprise, like, oh, hey, there's an update for the game and it's coming pretty soon. So I think that's kind of where we're at with the game.
So I looked at the date. In addition to that, it was July 18th was patch 2.5.1, and that is when Jane was like refined a little bit, but the launch of 2.5 was June 28th. So
Last
June
week
20
in my brain.
Yeah. June 28th to September 20th. That's like a little over, if we're rounding, like 2.5 months. We were speculating with Bucky before. We were saying hopefully he drops by the end of this year with the cloning lab. Does this timeline of gaps between major updates maybe give you any more hope that Bucky will hit this year with the cloning lab?
I would think so. I think he comes out this year because why would they talk about him right now if he wasn't?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that doesn't really make sense to me. And it seems like the way they were describing those updates, it seems like they would want that around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would think so. I think they want to get that out of the way and have like a nice end year capper before getting into 2023 stuff.
I think so too. So I guess my rough speculation in my head right now is like maybe late October, probably closer to like mid-November. We might get a release of Bucky. Around the same time we got Spider-Man and the Raid last year. Maybe we get Cloning Lab and Bucky. So
Yeah, that checks out.
and I'd be happy with that personally.
Yeah, I think I would too. It would be
Nice.
very back heavy, I feel, for 2022. But
Definitely.
I mean, they can't go back and fix the past, so.
Plus, I think, intentional or not, having a ramp up throughout the year post Embracer acquisition, you would maybe hope that we can continue that momentum into next year, where it felt like the launch of Spider-Man and the Raid was sort of like okay, we finally did everything that was promised, like the big stuff. And then after that, early this year, leading up to summer, it was a lot of like, you would assume and hope on the back end, like prepping for what the future of this game looks like structurally. So, long story short, I'm hoping that we keep up this pace compared to what we had last year. And hopefully, maybe She-Hulk is ready in January or February, and whoever beyond that,
Agreed.
Well, that's it for Avengers this week. We'll, like we said, have more impressions on the new villain sector next week. Hopefully good things to say. But meanwhile, like we said, D23 happened last weekend.
D23, that's all it's called.
D23.
Yep.
Did you watch any of these panels, any of these Twitter update threads?
No, I think on that day, it was the Saturday, I believe.
Yeah.
I think I was out and about doing something like that whole day, so I came back home and I just like went through my Culture Crave updates on Twitter, and went through like all the Marvel and Star Wars stuff. So I wasn't there present, and I just sort of caught everything at the end. I watched all the trailers at once. It was awesome.
Nice. That's probably the best way to do it. I saw some clips, like I saw different accounts tweeting out videos and threads of like, Ryan Penagos, I know, is always very good about, updating live events that do not get streamed for Marvel, being a Marvel employee. But we have a couple interesting things. Do you want to start with the trailers, or do you want to start with sort of the snippets that happened around D23?
I'll leave that to you. I'll let you decide.
Let's start with the trailers.
Okay.
Werewolf by Night, I think, was the first trailer that was shown, I believe. This is a project that has been leaked for a long, long time. It is directed, I think, the directorial debut of film composer Michael Giacchino, who has done many, many things. Within the MCU, you know him for the Spider-Man trilogy. He did the OSTs for those. He's directing a Marvel Studios, I believe MCU canon, short, going on Disney Plus directly, early October, black and white film, very schlocky, after school, campy, you would see this on TV Land as a child sort of look to it. But how do you feel about this? How do you feel about the trailer?
I'm very excited for it because it's very different from what we've got from the MCU in general. I think the way they're talking about it is like a Marvel Studios presentation or something like that. I forget the exact wording, but it probably is MCU canon, but it's like, hey, this is a little different than what we usually do, so just be aware of that. But I do like that. I'm not sure, like, we'll see about the quality when it actually comes out, but love the black and white. Love, like, the horror kind of vibes, releasing this around October and Halloween. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited by this, and I think it's probably my favorite trailer that we got at D23.
I would agree, and I think it's one of my most interested Marvel projects based off of like actually seeing it finally in a minute, because we've had this conversation a lot. If they want to keep expanding and they want to keep doing things, more weird stuff like this that a lot of people are probably going to hate just because it's not the same cookie cutter style thing, you know? Because like even if this is cheesy and campy and like goofy, that's kind of what I want it to be, honestly. Like that I know what I want going into this, and I feel like for that bar they will probably hit it based off this footage. So
Yeah, with this and like Guardians Christmas special or holiday
sure.
special, I'd like to see more things like that.
Hmm.
Now, we'll see if this is actually good or not when it comes out. However, the concept of it has me pretty intrigued.
Yeah, and apparently I I don't even know if this is like worth mentioning because it's probably a rumor based off something that somebody just said.
Is this
But
the hour-long rumor?
no,
Like them
this is
cutting
about
it?
a cameo that
Okay,
got
okay.
cut. Apparently, Blade was supposed to make his first on screen debut in this,
Mm-hmm.
and that was cut. But I don't think I ever mentioned this to you. I remember bringing up a character cameo that was rumored for Moon Knight. I heard Blade was supposed to be in Moon Knight also. So, like, people just might be talking about Blade, dude. I think
Mm.
that's it. Like,
Well, he was in Eternals.
kinda, yeah. His
That was
voice was,
so stupid.
yeah.
Why would they do that?
Well, if Blade was supposed to be in this and then was cut, do you think maybe the Black Knight could be in this?
Yeah, I suppose anyone could really be in this. But yeah, I think with that tone, sure.
Yeah.
I don't care
Plus,
though.
like werewolves, typically in medieval settings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen one image of the Black Knight from the comics, and it's literally just a knight in black armor. So, like,
Mm.
would probably look really good and way less goofy to show it off for the first time in a black and white film, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting
More
stuff.
definitely more visually unique things in the MCU. I think is a good thing. Would love like a whole black and white or some sort of weird color graded movie in the MCU.
Yeah, I'd be very into that. I would love if, like, I think we look back to early MCU stuff, there's a lot of I credit to the shooting on film, but there is some like visual distinctness to each of those early movies, which
Mm-hmm.
by Avengers kind of got completely erased. And I think for the most part they have a similar visual consistency to them for the sake of the cohesion of it all. But I think there's pros and cons there clearly. But I think for the number of projects there are now, it does help if there is a bit more of a distinction between them, just from a cinematic standpoint. So I agree with you
Right.
for sure. That being said, Secret Invasion looks like more Winter Soldier. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. How do you feel about this one?
So I love Ben Mendelsohn as Talos. Like he's one of my favorite additions to the MCU of the last few years. So the idea of this being a not buddy cop in terms of like the tone, but like him and Fury teaming up for some sort of thriller. Yeah, give me that. I liked their chemistry they had, and seeing the both of them and a surrounding cast sort of be on the run from either scrolls or people hunting scrolls or whatever they're trying to do, because Secret Wars is probably going to be super different, as is Secret Invasion from their comic counterparts. Uh, I like what I saw. How do you feel?
I'm like slightly conflicted
Okay.
because I agree with you. I like the Winter Soldier spy espionage sort of angle about this, and that has me very excited. I feel like the MCU needs more content like that, and I think
Hmm.
that's a good angle that this is taking. However, I think going into this, I was worried that it wasn't going to be, because it was a Disney Plus show, it wasn't going to be the Secret Invasion project that I think a lot of people, myself included, really wanted it to be, with like
Hmm.
a big sort of bombastic Avengers event movie. And it seems like that's not really what we're getting, which is slightly disappointing. I I kind of liked the Secret Invasion comic, though I was interested to see how the MCU would have handled it and maybe improved it. But it seems like it's really not even going to deal with like Skrulls taking over Avengers and stuff. Like I'm sure like Rhodey in this will be a Skrull, and by the end he'll show up like later and be like, "Oh yeah, that dude took me over for this whole show." But that's probably the extent of it, I think. Which I don't know.
Yeah, well, based off the way the Skrulls were introduced to the MCU, right? I'm sure there's probably gonna be some like rogue factions of them, but you would be inclined to think that there's no malicious body snatching type deals so far. Like we see um, Talos and his wife take over for Fury and Maria Hill on Earth, where the two of them are alive and well, living their best lives out in space, doing whatever they're doing, right? So does Rhodey have to be undercover somewhere and a Skrull takes his place? Like, I think because of how they were portrayed in Captain Marvel compared to like the Skrulls and the Super Skrulls that have been in comic arcs that are, what was it? They like locked up all the heroes in like a little pod in space.
Yes. Yep.
The Skrulls we've seen so far seem like they wouldn't do that, right?
No.
So,
That's what I think. The trailer shows off Talos being like a little caught off guard by a bunch, and he's a Skrull, obviously,
mhm.
being caught off guard by someone turning, or like a group of people turning into a bunch of Skrulls. So it does seem like there is going to be like a warring faction. I think it could be really interesting if like the Skrulls have such an amazing ability that they could be like, all right, if we want to cripple the like world economy or just Earth in general, we can target certain people and take over them and just like set the world ablaze. Like I think that's a really interesting idea, and I'd love to see if that is broached in this show.
That was the plan of, what was it, Dreykov in Black Widow, right?
I honestly do not remember.
I think he was like, all my widows are gonna infiltrate all the political leaders of the world and collapse
Sure.
them all, so my floating sky island can rule them all, like the Revolver Ocelot. Um, but yeah, I'm curious. I haven't read the Secret Invasion comic. I've read a Deadpool comic that took place during Secret Invasion,
Yep.
but that's it. So curious to see how that goes. Outside of that, there weren't really any other major uh, visual scene based mediums that showcased Marvel projects, but we did get some concept art of the next big team up movie being Thunderbolts, which Feige even referred to as, this is the acting team right now. There's not really an Avengers team. It's the Thunderbolts. So before we talk about the characters, how do you feel about that? Like the positioning in the MCU that, yeah, there really isn't an Avengers team right now, the way that a lot of the fandom has speculated, and the sanctioned superhuman team is this group of, I would maybe guess UN, probably not US because of some of the characters on there. Super team.
I am again conflicted. I
Mm-hmm.
like the Avengers sort of taking a break for a little bit and I kind of like not knowing what the deal is, like
Yeah.
structurally with the Avengers. I think that's cool. But I don't know, man. Thunderbolts. I said it. I think when they announced the lineup for I think Comic-Con, I was like, I don't know about this one. This being the end cap to I think Phase 5. I don't know. It always seemed like, all right, we're gonna have some tier heroes lead this one. Okay. Like, I don't love the Suicide Squad movies. Even the recent one, like I enjoy, but it's not my favorite. So I don't know. It seems like they're kind of following that route. So I don't know. Not thrilled with this being like the big Phase 5 end movie. But I'd love to be wrong. But right now, that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, I like the idea, like you said, of the Avengers sort of being MIA. I think it's the right call. So that way, when we get the next Avengers movie in 2025, like it actually feels like it's like, oh yeah, we've been waiting for this. And I think the choice to push the Thunderbolts, I don't dislike because I think it could really highlight other elements of the MCU in a way that we haven't seen in a bit because we are dealing a lot with multiversal stuff and whimsical cosmic things. I think having your big team movie, whatever the stakes of that team movie will be very grounded is a call I didn't think they would make, but I think probably the right call before we're about to get a Kang Avengers movie and then Secret Wars, which is going to be bonkers, right? Whatever the subject matter is, whatever conflict they're dealing with, the fact that it is this group of characters who are very, very clearly, basically all just super soldiers, is interesting to me. And I'm wondering what path they take to characterize the state of the MCU, the state of what this team looks like, because they also said during Captain America 4, this is the acting team protecting the Earth. It's like Sam is doing his Captain America stuff, and then the super team is the Thunderbolts. So, interesting things.
Yeah. That is actually really interesting to think that this is like the acting team protecting Earth. And this is going to be like Avengers 1 essentially for these, like them all teaming up together. So there's that vibe included as well.
Yeah, plus like of course William Hurt, who played Thunderbolt Ross, did pass away earlier this year, but when you look at the places his character popped up, I think the most recent timeline wise was Endgame, right? Like he was still very anti Steve Rogers, anti Avengers having agency. So the Avengers being put on ice after Endgame, seeing an opportunity to fill the void with his own choice of people, be it Suicide Squad or not, I think that kind of tracks, So I hope they do something with that, even though they probably can't use Thunderbolt Ross to the extent they planned on, unless they recast, which is honestly probably on the table. But
yeah, I'm curious about that myself. I feel like that could be an option. I feel like if they recast, they would, and I'm sure they'll do this anyways. I'm sure they'll have a dedication in there for him at the end of this movie, because like
Absolutely.
that's kind of seemingly what his character was being built up to.
It's yeah, because he popped up in Black Widow, the movie featuring Red Guardian, and Red Guardian's on the team.
Yeah, do you want to run through like who's actually on there, like the key art?
Sure. So it is Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character acting as probably the Nick Fury, and honestly, she could even take over as what Ross's role would have been.
Yeah, right.
So, it is her. It is Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. It is Red Guardian, portrayed by David Harbour of Stranger Things fame. Yelena from Black Widow. Bucky Barnes, John Walker, and I don't have it pulled up. Who's the last person on the right?
Oh, Taskmaster.
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 Taskmaster from Black Widow. So for the most part, the sentiment from the online discussion is like, okay, so this isn't like Suicide Squad. These are all villains trying to be heroes. It's like, these are heroes who have done things for the good of people, but in some really shady ways at times, and has absolutely stumbled. Because like, you look, John Walker's up there, people are gonna have some problems, you know. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, it's not necessarily like the Suicide Squad. They're not like outright villains, like who need to have like bombs placed in the back of their skull if they do something wrong.
yeah,
It seems like this will be like a redemptive arc for a lot of them, which is interesting. I think Ghost being on there is the most random person on here. Like, they all kind of have ties to each other. Like, there's 3 people from the Black Widow movie in this. And then Sam and John Walker, or not Sam, sorry, Bucky and John Walker, of course, were in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So Ghost kind of seems like out of left field, but I like her power set. I think it's the most diverse out of anyone else in this, which I'm pretty sure everyone except for her has the super soldier serum.
yes, but I think because of her abilities, Shield trained her to be a super soldier.
Yeah, maybe not Yelena and Taskmaster. I don't think they do.
Sure. Well, I mean,
I don't know. I think like in terms of like a diverse set of like skills, it kind of seems boring to me.
yeah, I think that's why I'm interested, honestly, because I think seeing this group of people who have, I would say, 2 specialty members of the roster, being Ghost and Taskmaster, where Ghost has an actual physical ability, and then Taskmaster has the capability to just be like a wizard on a battlefield. It makes me think that the threat and scope of whatever story they're going to be telling is more grounded and is more in line with what we were just talking about, hoping to see more of out of something like Secret Invasion, which is more thrillery or grounded in the constant swirl of multiverse stuff. So I hear what you're saying, absolutely, but I think that might be a good palate cleanser by the time it comes out.
Sure. I would love to be proven wrong, but to me, this doesn't really excite me all too much. Like, first trailer, that's what I'm looking for. I want to see what this thing looks like. Are you surprised there's no Abomination, at least yet?
Blown away there's no Abomination on that.
That seems like a lock. Or it seems like it would have been.
You would think.
Maybe, like, we're going to wait till the end of She-Hulk, and that will be, like, the surprise / not surprise in the first trailer. For our first teaser, maybe.
Yeah, I've also seen people very shocked that Zemo is not here, because in the comics, he's, like, the guy, right? So
maybe there's, like, going to be some characters that join up throughout the movie.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. You know, Suicide Squad always has a massive cast, and that gets pruned as time goes on, so.
That's true.
Anyway, I'm intrigued. Looking forward to seeing a first trailer for that, like you said.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I'm waiting for.
For sure. A couple other small things came out of D23. One of the main appeals of what was being talked about on stage was Kevin Feige bringing out a lot of different people. Talked about the Marvels. He had all 3 main characters on stage. It was like, this is the pitch. This is what we're dealing with. Had some cute moments. All right. Next up, who's here? Loki. Let's talk about Loki for a bit. Okay. Fun. Let's move on to the next thing. And then one of the key things that got a lot of shares, a lot of tweets, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio on stage talking about Daredevil. After the fact, there were interviews Charlie Cox did, And did you get a chance to hear any of the things he was talking about Daredevil Born Again?
No, I don't think so. Everything kind of blurs together.
Okay. So he was talking a lot about tone, and he was talking a lot about, the spirit of trying to adapt Daredevil again. And he was very vocal about, like, thinking there's room for levity, but he thinks that it is inappropriate to the character, and everybody's keeping that in mind to, like, super lean into that. So you don't have to worry about yuck yuck Daredevil for 18 episodes. And he did mention that since there are 18 episodes, there is a spectrum of time for them to have moments of, like, reprieve with some levity here and there, and also, like, really explore the intricacies of this character and his stories that he typically has. So
Sure.
again, probably not what everybody wants to hear, but for me, I'm okay with that, at least off concept.
I mean, it's a different show too. Like, it's not the Netflix Daredevil. It's obviously still continuing that story, but it's like a sequel to a movie essentially, except it's a sequel series. So that makes sense. The 18 episode thing is still interesting to me. It seems like a little too many, whereas Disney Plus shows typically have too few. So interested to see what that looks like. But yeah, this is good. I like how he's saying we're being respectful of the tone, but it's going to be, it's going to be different than what we got with the Netflix show. Still surprised that, or maybe I'm not, maybe I shouldn't be surprised. We haven't gotten, like, any confirmation if, like, Foggy or Karen are returning, and I would love for them to.
I would think they have to,
Right?
right? But I don't know. I also saw some people saying, like, oh, maybe they don't because maybe it's just the two of them, because maybe Kevin Feige wants to use Elektra. But, like, didn't she get revived already? Like, we can just do it again, right?
I'm kind of done with Elektra, gotta be honest.
Yeah. I mean, if Feige wants to use it, like, I think if any of the characters want to be used again, just get the original actor. You can very easily explain away, be like, oh, the snap undid it. There you go. Like, they're back. So, anyway, Daredevil. You want to talk more about Daredevil?
Yes, let's do it.
She-Hulk episode 5, released today as of recording. We've seen it. Again, this show is just a blast to watch. There's no real substantial conversation to be had on our end with the show, despite enjoying it so much. But what's interesting about this week is, do you know what won Best Picture for 2003, Jack?
2003? No, I don't.
At the Academy Awards. I don't know if it was the ceremony that would have been awarding films released in 2003.
Oh, I don't know. Return of the King?
Return of the King.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Daredevil's back. I'm happy.
I almost missed this. I almost missed this. I was watching this during lunch, and I, like, looked away for a second, and then the credits hit, and I was like, what was, like, the stinger of the end? Like, I almost was just like, whatever. It's probably nothing. And then I rewound, and I was like, that was actually very important. So I'm glad I did that. You almost really surprised me. Imagine if I showed up and was like, what are we talking about here? But yeah, Daredevil's helmet is being made by this dude. So that's cool.
Yeah. That's really it. But
I almost missed the entire discussion of this episode.
Yeah. If you want to get super looking too deep into it, when you see this, when you see the presentation, when you see the reveal, what's going through your mind about Charlie Cox, the MCU Daredevil, the Netflix Daredevil? Like, what was your read seeing that happen?
Like seeing the gold helmet?
Yeah, like seeing it, seeing the reveal of it, all that.
Well, I was, like, a little confused, I suppose. Like, I'm confused about the guy creating all these suits for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my head was at. Like, why is Daredevil going all the way to Los Angeles to get his uniform. Surely, like what's happening with his man that I'm forgetting? The guy
Dex?
the guy who was making his suits so that Daredevil can protect him and Betty.
Right. I forget. Oh man, I forget him.
You know what
I
I'm
forget
talking
his
about?
name. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Why is Daredevil literally going across the country for a new suit where that guy has been quite good to him, I'd say. That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we will find out in 7 days. But I mean, the first thing I thought, because the suit making process in Daredevil on Netflix was such an important plot point every single time he went back to that guy. So because he's getting it in LA, my first gut instinct was, "Oh, are we like really? Are we just wiping the supporting cast and like to hell with it?" Or I thought about it a little more. Maybe he just didn't bring his suit to a case he was working in Los Angeles. He needed one.
Yeah, because I wouldn't expect the yellow suit here that he has, or like the yellow highlight suit, to be his main suit going forward.
I don't think so either.
This seems to be like Iron Man gets a new suit every movie, and some of them are just kind of flashy for Flash, and this seems to be that case.
I also think it is probably a case of, hey, the last time you saw Daredevil by this actor, he looked like this. We're doing something a little different, so expect that, because this was revealed a while ago, right? In the trailer. They wanted to set the tone, right? Be like, here's what he looks like. Speculate away. And maybe that'll get people's expectations a little more tempered, so it's not going to be like, oh, this is exactly where we left off. So I'm with you. Maybe like the first couple episodes of the Daredevil show, he has this suit on, and then he's born again in the first couple episodes, right?
Yeah. Can I say, I really wish they did not show him off in the trailer. Could you imagine? That would be fantastic. Like, not even saying, yeah, he'll be in the show or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, I know they probably did that to get people to watch the show. However, wouldn't that have been sweet? And even more worse for me, or even worse for me to show up to this, almost not have seen that. Like, that'd be ridiculous. But I think it would have been really, really such a cool reveal to have that. Without any fanfare in the trailers or anything. But I get it.
Yeah, I feel like that probably would have like broke Twitter this morning.
Oh yeah.
Because honestly, I didn't watch it until around like noon today, when I was taking a little break. But like I woke up, I was on my phone, I was on Twitter, I did not see a single frame. I looked something up on my search on Twitter, and I saw Daredevil was trending with like 4,000 tweets, and I was like, oh yeah, this was probably the week, or he didn't show up, and that's why nobody's talking about it. So, yeah, I think you're probably right, but interesting approach. We will have more to say, I imagine, next week with the new episode. So
yeah, he has to be there next week, right?
Does he?
I would hope so. If they do that like this week, it would be for next week.
Yeah, because there's 3 more episodes? Or 4?
There's 9
right?
in total, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So 4 more.
Can I say just real quick, looking outside my window, I'm being invaded by like a dozen turkeys.
Oh my god.
There's like a flock of turkeys outside my window. And it's something. But anyways.
They're getting ready to migrate south before the Thanksgiving weather shows up,
I could feed several families if I was a hunter. Just saying.
Damn. Well, have we been fed for Daredevil content this year, you think?
Not well. We're gonna be fed. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, they're getting closer.
If Jack disappears, you know what happened.
You're gonna get a video of this, and it's quite something.
Have you ever heard of we're talking about masked characters, the gobbledygooker?
What? No, that sounds wildly offensive.
I know. It's not though, as far as I know. The gobbledygooker was a WWE character that I believe the Undertaker had a feud with.
Oh yeah.
At the Thanksgiving shows, which I believe was what, Hell in a Cell or something. Yeah, a turkey had beef with the Undertaker. Came out of an egg.
Wow, that is some 2000s wrestling right there.
Yeah, but we'll see what's in store next week for Daredevil. Jennifer Walters also still killing it, but
yeah.
In the meantime, not before then, where can everybody find you, Jack?
You can follow me on Twitter at FascinatedJack. Like what Christian said at the beginning of the episode, we have the Long Play Club rolling out for Arkham Asylum. Very excited to have gone back and played that and talk about it with you, Christian, and Omar. And we got Arkham City to look forward to sometime in October, which I'm very excited, but also very nervous. Because
I'll be excited.
I'm excited, like, it's my third favorite game currently. So there's a lot riding on it to still be good, like, 10 plus years later. So, a little nervous. But I think it'll hold up for the most part. But, yeah. What about you?
Well, I'm seeing now that you just sent me a Snapchat. That is several turkeys. I see at least 8. No, maybe 12. God
Dude,
damn.
I think it's a dozen turkeys.
Lord.
It's pretty scary. I saw them earlier in the day, and she was holding my cat Tessie up to the window to look at them, and she was like, "What? What are these things?"
Was she doing the cat thing? Because my cat Rupert, whenever he sees a bird, he like, if it's like close, he'll do like that.
No, she doesn't do that. I think it's funny that cats do that though.
Yeah, it's very funny. But that's it for the show. You can find the show on Twitter at ExcelsiorJC, youtube.com/JoeyClicks for the live premiere of the video version of Excelsior every weekend. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just look us up. You can find it there. Excelsior, Avengers Podcast, or JoeyClicks, you'll find it. You can find me on Twitter and TikTok at Chun2D2. And if you want to support the shows, you can do so by going to patreon.com/joyclicks at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 you'll get producer credit on every show we produce, like Aaron Easton and Jose Garcia. So thank you very much. And that is it for Excelsior. We will be back with more Daredevil and some Avengers video game impressions next week. But until then, Excelsior.
Excelsior.